Great. Hi, it's nice to see you again this week.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Can you see and hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Thanks for
Okay,
asking.
great. It looks like you're in a different location today. So I just wanted to confirm where you're at, if you're in a private space.
I am. I'm in my friend's house. Remember I told you I was kind of staying on their couches and stuff. So but nobody's home. So yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. I just wanted to start by checking in and seeing how your last week has been since our initial session meeting. Just see what's been going on.
Yeah, it's been okay. I I know like after we talked, I was kind of thinking more about like going back to school and how that's a big goal for me and thinking about like getting a job even. So I definitely think our conversation kind of you know, had me start thinking a little bit about some of the things I want to accomplish, which is good. So I was looking forward to today.
Okay. So it sounds like our conversation sort of got you thinking about some things that have been coming up and some things that are important to you. And so
Mhm.
that sounds like a positive thing. I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Today's going to be one of those core sessions that we talked about in our initial session that everybody gets. So we'll have two of these core sessions that are focused on HIV care and just your general well-being. And I'd like to start by getting to know a little bit more about you and discussing your HIV care and how you feel like that's going.
Sure, yeah. So um well, like I mentioned before, I like have a doctor that I see in a primary care clinic that accepts my insurance. But I don't really go to the clinic unless I'm feeling bad. Um, yeah, I mean, like I just kind of grew up where you just go to the doctor when you're sick, and if I'm not feeling sick, I just don't really go.
Okay, so most of the time you're feeling well enough that you don't really feel like you need to go, but occasionally if something's going on, then you'll go if you like really need it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like recently I was having a lot of pain in my like fingers and my toes and I went in at that point and was able to talk to somebody about that, but other than that I don't really go in often.
Okay. Okay. What do you like? How do you feel like that's going? What do you feel like's going well overall in managing your HIV care?
Um well, I don't mind my doctor. I mean, he's okay. Like he he doesn't like he's not rude or anything like that. The clinic accepts my insurance, which I love. You know, I don't have to have any payments or anything like that. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine. There's not really anything outstanding about it, but it seems okay.
All right. So you feel okay about your care and like not great, but not poor either. You're just kind of like in the middle about it, feeling
Y-
okay.
Yeah, I think so for sure.
Is there anything that's challenging or difficult about your HIV care?
Um, well, I think that sometimes like my doctor, like, I don't know, he's really knowledgeable, obviously, but like, I have another friend who has HIV, and that friend goes to a clinic that, like, only treats people with HIV, and it seems like he gets a lot more, like, I don't know, like, resources and support in his doctor and his, like he has, like, a social worker and a case man he has a lot of, like, stuff that they give him, and I just go to a primary care clinic, so they don't I feel like I'm just kind of like everybody else there. So I thought about that recently about like how that might be different if I was at a place like that. Um, and then of course, like I mentioned last time, sometimes I don't really take my medication like I'm supposed to. Um, if I'm partying or if I'm like, you know, dating and like partying with guys, then I usually skip doses.
Okay. So you're maybe interested in getting possibly involved with a clinic where you might be able to get a little bit more support and resources. It sounds like if you are feeling worse, or maybe to help you feel a little bit better overall. And then also it sounds like it's important to you to think a little bit more about your medication and maybe some different strategies or things that we can do to help you take it more consistently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It sounds like you have a really good idea of the things that are important to you in your care, and that, engaging in your care is something that is important to you as well.
Hmm. Yeah, it's important. It's also like, I don't know. I am also very private about it. So I want to figure out, like, I'm really interested in figuring out a way to engage in my care more, but it's really hard because I live wherever I can live, and I don't all my friends don't know about my status, and um so I just don't know how to keep it private and also engage in it more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that it sort of keeps you from engaging more or being more a part of your care, because it is something that, can carry different weight with it. What has your experience been with stigma around your HIV? To what degree do you feel like you've experienced it, and how has it impacted you?
Well, um I think it's definitely impacted me because I have like um as I mentioned before, my none of my family knows about my HIV status. So I wouldn't I would not tell them. I think that they would disown me even more than they have now, and most of my friends don't know either. I don't know. I feel like, I got HIV when I was hooking up with this guy and we were using, and I don't even see that guy anymore, so it kind of feels like, you know, I it was my fault a little bit, and so I do feel like I don't want everyone to know because I'm embarrassed that it happened.
Yeah, like privacy is important to you, and you've also experienced and noticed a lot of other people's judgments. And you
Yeah.
even maybe have some judgments and some feelings yourself that maybe you've internalized from the way that other people have treated you as well, especially family.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like, my family would totally just think that, like, I was being fast, or like, I was like being like promiscuous, and I'm sure like, oh, some of my friends would think that too, and so like I should have known better, and so I avoid all of that by just not telling a lot of people.
Yeah, it can be really challenging to even want to get care and, even just go to clinic and talk about it when it's something that brings up a lot of those really difficult feelings and experiences.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it does make going to the clinic hard, because then it brings, like you said, it brings up, how my family doesn't know, and if I'm pretty healthy now, but if something bad happened, like would they find out like by a doctor if I'm in like the hospital and I can't tell them, or like, if I'm really sick and they need to contact them, like they would have to tell them. And so like I do worry about that kind of stuff of like my family finding out and it's not being me that tells them. Um and plus like it's just the logistic thing. Like if I'm staying with a friend who doesn't know about my HIV status, um and I need to go like take my meds, like I keep them really private. I have to like keep them on me at all times. And there's not always a time to like slip away and like take your meds. So that can be hard.
Yeah, it sounds like there are some practical challenges too.
Hmm.
Is that something that maybe in one of our other sessions you might be interested in exploring more?
Yeah, I think so. Mhm.
Okay, I'll make a little note of that, and maybe that's something that in future sessions we can also explore, because it
Okay.
sounds like it's something that is impacting you.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be good.
So if you're okay with it, I thought we could take a moment to review the HIV knowledge assessment that you actually took. You may not remember because it was bunched in with a lot of other assessments and in that initial big assessment that you took at the beginning of the study. But it was about 17 questions. And I just have it pulled up here, your answers. And if you're okay with it, like I mentioned, I'd like to maybe go over it together. And there's a couple you marked you weren't sure about. And I thought maybe we could just go over those.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. Okay. So looking at it, it does seem like you have a pretty good handle on your HIV knowledge. There's only a couple that you marked that you weren't sure about. Um, so I just want to commend you for that. Um, One of the answers you marked, I don't know, is one, and it talks about, let's see, I would like to read it so we can just have a better idea. It says treatments are available to help with medication side effects. And you marked that you weren't sure. And I'm curious what your thinking was along those lines for that question.
Well, um, I mean, I have a lot of side effects, or I have in the past with my meds. Um, like for example, I like have a lot of nausea and things like that. And my doctor right now doesn't really prescribe me anything for that. So I just assumed that was the case, that you just there aren't any meds for those kind of side effects.
Yeah, it would make sense that if you're experiencing side effects, you might just think like that's just a part of something that you have to deal with.
Right.
Um, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm really glad that you kind of marked that and that we can talk about it, because that's actually something that you can talk with your doctor about at your regular visit when you check in, and that you can actually get some help and support on,
Mm.
especially for something like nausea. So that might be something that you could have a conversation next time you have an appointment.
Okay. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Do you think that talking to your doctor about some of those side effects might be helpful for you in taking your medication at all?
It could be. Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me when I don't take my meds is because I'm like I said, I'm just out, I'm with a date or whatever. But there are sometimes like I feel sick one day after taking it and I just don't really feel like taking it the next day. So that could help some, I bet.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, and then the other one that you marked, I don't know for, is if recreational drugs affect your ability to take your medications as prescribed. What
Hmm.
were your thoughts on this one?
Well, I was just thinking like I know that I've mentioned in the past that sometimes, like, when I'm partying, I forget to take my meds, but I will take them like, the next day sometimes. So, I don't know, I didn't I don't really know if I think that my medication or my drug using some meth or whatever one night makes it so that I'll never take my meds. I just take them, like, much later. So, I
Okay.
was thinking I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So for you, you noticed kind of in the short term that maybe like when you're using or partying, you're a little more distracted and forgetful. But over the long term, you didn't kind of see a change. And so it was harder for you to maybe see that it's not as much of a direct correlation as maybe some other things. Maybe it's just like forgetting here and there.
Yeah, and I always feel like, as if I skip a dose a couple days in a row and then I just double up on them the final day, like, then we're fine, right? Like,
Okay. Yeah. And then I could see too how it would make, you'd think that if you just miss a dose here or there, it wouldn't impact you.
Hmm.
And oftentimes it can actually impact you.
Mm.
So that's something to kind of think about. And if you're open to it, I'd love to send you a couple of resources on that that might give you a little more information, um,
Mm.
if you're open to that.
Yeah, I would. I didn't realize that like I really should be taking it every single day. Um, so yeah, I'd be down to see that.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
that sounds great. I appreciate you being open
Mhm.
to consider that. Do you have any other questions? I don't know if that jogs your memory about some of the other questions that were on the knowledge assessment that you took, or if you just have any other questions in general about your HIV care that you've been wondering about.
Um, Let me think really quickly. Uh, uh, oh, one question I had that's not on the like that I don't remember answering from the survey is like about labs. I Again, my friend who goes to the doctor who works at the HIV clinic, she told me that like I should be getting labs or something. And I don't know anything about that. So do you know like if I should be doing that and like how I do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's kind of connected to what you were mentioning earlier too about, thinking about maybe going to a place like your friend where you're able to get a lot of support and there's sort of a lot of things mixed in. So this might be part of that too, but you can definitely get labs from your primary care and or if you have a clinic that does a lot of different things and provides a lot of different supports. But getting labs is really helpful because then you can actually know, how much are your meds helping you? What does your viral suppression look like? And sometimes you can even develop resistance and things like that. And it may not be working as well, especially if you're missing some doses. So it could
Mm.
be really helpful to just continually get lab work so that think of it kind of like preventative too, like something that you're doing to, before you get sick. It might be
Mm.
helpful to know, and there might be some indications in your lab work. So that might
Mm.
be something that could help you, prevent any issues from coming up and maybe keep you from getting sick as much or as often.
Okay. What do you mean by resistance? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'd love to send you a resource on that too, because oftentimes, if you're missing doses or not able to take your medication as regularly, then your body will develop a resistance to that medication and it won't be effective anymore. And so,
Mm.
one of the big goals of taking medication is not just suppression, but also being able to uh, not develop a resistance to that
Oh,
medication so that it's still effective for you.
gotcha. Okay. So if I don't take my meds every day, then they don't work as well, basically.
Yeah, that's why,
Okay.
it can seem really harmless just to miss a couple of doses, but kind of similar to birth control, like it can still lower, birth control, even if you miss a couple doses, it can increase your risk of pregnancy. And it's sort of a similar concept.
Okay.
Does that
Cool.
make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, I didn't know that. So that definitely makes sense. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, this is a great conversation. Um, and I'm just curious, we've talked about a lot of different things today in your own care. And you've talked about some different things that are important to you or just some things that you've been thinking about. And what do you feel like you'd most like to change out of the things that you mentioned in regards to your HIV health? Like what change might make the biggest impact on you and your well-being right now?
Um, I mean, I guess if there was a way I didn't have to take a pill every day, that would be, like, the best thing, because then I could make sure I didn't build, like what you said, like, resistance, but, yeah, I don't know how that would be possible, so I don't know. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I guess maybe trying to take my meds more would be
Okay.
helpful.
That seems
Mhm.
like a great place to start. That could have an impact. And I also know that there may be an option for not taking a pill every day. Depends on insurance and a lot of other factors, but that might be something that we could look into together and see what your options are.
Mm,
Um, and maybe we
okay.
can work towards that this week. Maybe that's something I can send you resources on, and we can work together this week. What's one thing that you feel like you could do this week to help you kind of meet that goal of taking your medication a little bit more every day?
Um, maybe I could use my pill box that I never use. So maybe I could, like, set that up.
Yeah. And how would you set that up?
I would just put, like, my meds in, like, I have, like, 2 meds I take per day, so I could just put, like, 1 of each in each day's box.
Okay. Yeah. That way you'd know, like, oh yeah, I didn't take it yet today.
Mhm.
When would you typically look in your box? When's a good time for you to do that?
I could probably set a phone alarm to tell me to do it, like, in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you mind if I take a little note of that and just check back in with you?
Yeah, that's okay. That'd be
Okay.
good.
And how do you feel about doing that? Like, how confident are you that you could work on that this week?
I feel pretty confident. Um, yeah, I think I could do it for sure. I don't think
Okay.
it'll be that hard.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. That sounds great. We'll check in about that next time, and then next time we'll also go over part 2 of this session. And we'll talk a little bit more about your HIV care. And then I'm also going to send you those resources that we talked about. Um, and then after that session, we'll move on to our mental health and substance use core sessions, just to give you a little bit of a map. I just wanted to check in before we wrap up and end about and check in and see how you feel about our session today and if you have any feedback.
Um, I feel good about it. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Okay. And feel free to always just give any feedback and anything that you're feeling. I'll get your feedback at the end of each session. Love to hear from you
Mhm.
about what's working for you and if anything came up, any questions or concerns.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for coming and showing up and sharing and having just a great, meaningful conversation with me. I can see that your well-being is important to you, and I appreciate you spending your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Right.
Oh, wait, I forgot real quick. I forgot to make an appointment for our next session.
Oh, right. The same time works good for me next week.
Okay, great. I'll put you in for the same time next week.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.